Good afternoon, everyone. As Provost of New York University, it is my privilege to welcome you to this afternoon's lecture. I am pleased that you have joined us for this wonderful opportunity to hear a sample of the work of Dr. Ada Yonath. I would first like to take a moment to acknowledge Mrs. Helen Kimmel, who is with us here today. As a trustee of New York University, Helen's leadership and generosity to NYU and its NYU Langone Medical Center, in partnership with that of her late husband Martin, are paving the way for breakthrough research by our most brilliant scientists, supporting individual scientists and their research projects, both here at Washington Square and at the Medical Center. In addition to her leadership positions at NYU, Helen is also a life member of the Board of Governors for the Weizmann Institute of Science, where our speaker, Dr. Yonath, occupies the chair that bears the names of Mr. and Mrs. Kimmel. So thank you, Helen, for all you have done to advance science at NYU and around the world. In a few moments, you will hear from Professor Tamar Schlick about Dr. Yonath's scholarship and her talk today. But before that, I would like to briefly introduce Professor Schlick to you. Tamar Schlick is a professor of chemistry, mathematics, and computer science at New York University. She received her PhD in applied mathematics from the Weizmann Institute of Mathematical Sciences, and after a postdoc fellowship at the Weizmann Institute, working with a grand pioneer of molecular mechanics, the late Shanir Lifson, she joined the faculty of NYU. Professor Schlick is recognized for developing innovative mathematical and computational tools for biomedical modeling and simulation, including a long time step integrator, a multivariate minimization algorithm, and coarse-grained models, and applying them to generate atomic-level insights into fundamental molecular processes, including the structure of DNA and RNA. She has 150 published papers, is a member of several editorial boards and advisory committees in mathematics, computational biology, and chemistry, and is active in the community by organizing many workshops, conferences, and new programs, especially to enhance and broaden graduate education. She has trained about 35 postdoctoral fellows and 35 research students, as well as a dozen undergraduate and high school students. Among Professor Schlick's honors are a Guggenheim Fellowship, a Sloan Fellowship, a Howard Hughes Medical Institute Investigatorship, and an NSF Presidential Young Investigator. Her textbook, Molecular Modeling, an Interdisciplinary Guide, is widely used in modeling computational chemistry and biophysics courses worldwide. The second edition of that textbook is due out later this spring. Professor Schlick is also a founding member of WOW, Women on Women, a supportive group for women in the sciences here at NYU, which along with the Department of Chemistry and the Dean of Science is a sponsor of today's event. So thank you, WOW, the Chair of Chemistry, Michael Ward, and the Dean of Science, Dan Stein, for this afternoon's event. And now, please join me in welcoming Professor Tamar Schlick, who will introduce today's speaker. Tamar.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much and for the introduction. It is really a great pleasure for me to introduce to you my friend and colleague Ada, who is an extraordinary woman and scientist, who also holds a special relationship with the city and university. They can use this. Ada has visited attended a prior event sponsored by WOW and the Dean of Libraries to celebrate James Watson's 80th birthday. Today, she will share with us, yet again, her deep insights and expertise concerning the ribosome structure and function. As way of background, Ada was born in Mea Shearim in Jerusalem. At age 13, after the death of her father, she moved to Tel Aviv with her mother and little sister Nurit, today a successful psychologist. To help her mother, Ada worked in many jobs, from cleaning stairwells to giving private lessons. She was accepted into a prestigious high school, and in order to pay the high tuition, she tutored new immigrants. However, Ada had to give up her studies when she found a higher paying job in order to support her family. Realizing how special Ada was, the school headmaster nonetheless managed to bring Ada back to school when she found her a job at the school. After her obligatory military service, Ada gave up her wish to live in a kibbutz in favor of chemistry. Ada received her bachelor's degree in chemistry and master's degree in biochemistry from Hebrew University, Jerusalem, and PhD in X-ray crystallography from the Weizmann Institute in Rehovot, Israel. After postdoctoral positions at the Nobel Institute in Pittsburgh and MIT, she joined the faculty of the Department of Structural Biology at the Weizmann Institute, the crème de la crème of Israeli universities, and initiated protein crystallography there. Significantly, this was the only such laboratory in the country for almost a decade. I just returned from a visit there, where I enjoyed talking to many scientists from across the world, as well as seeing and smelling many gorgeous spring flowers that surround the campus, as you can see from these beautiful photos. The beautiful flora is equally matched by the special people who work there. Ada continued to work very hard at her science because she chose a very challenging problem, deciphering the structure and function of the ribosome, the RNA protein complex that is the cell's workhorse, making proteins. After obtaining preliminary promising crystallizations, it took Ada 8 years to develop a systematic protocol to obtain ribosome crystals suitable for crystallization analysis. That was a feat on its own right, which revolutionized structural biology. 12 more years followed until Ada revealed the ribosome structure in full glory in 2000. Throughout this time, Ada had to seek funding to support her group's laborious work, and later on, 15 years after she started, she also had to face other competitors. Some rivals criticized her approach and reduced the value of her efforts. Unfortunately, that is the sign of a brilliant scientist. But Ada persevered. Ada says of those years, during those difficult years, I learned a lot about humankind. I thought I'd get to age 65, retire, write a romance novel on the psychology behind all the science, gossip. But as of yet, I have not retired. I should add that Ada has not even slowed down. At Weizmann, Ada quickly rose through the ranks, becoming department chair and later director of the Kimmel Center for Biomolecular Assemblies. Mrs. Kimmel, whose name adorns this building at NYU and who is here with us today, as already mentioned by our provost, has been most generous not only with Ada's center at Weizmann, but the square here and with the NYU School of Medicine. At the same period, Ada also directed a Max Planck research unit in Hamburg, Germany for 18 years until 2004. For her heroic doggedness in solving the structure of the ribosome and interpreting its function, Ada has been recognized by numerous honors and prizes. These include the Israel Prize, Rothschild Prize for Life Science, Wolf Prize, Louisa Gross Horwitz Prize from Columbia University, Paul Ehrlich Ludwig Medal, Linus Pauling Gold Medal, UNESCO L'Oreal Award for Women in the Life Sciences,
Albert Einstein Award, World Award of Science, Eris Prize for Peace, and of course, the Nobel Prize Chemistry in 2009 with Venkatrama Ramakrishna and Thomas Stites. Ada has also received an honorary doctorate from Oxford University and is a member of the U.S. National Academy of Science, European Academy of Sciences and Art, and the Israeli Academy of Science and Humanities. Many of us in the scientific community have known and recognized Ada's work in structural biology for a long time, but the Nobel introduced her to many people across the world. As an Israeli, I have enjoyed following an entire country's growing fascination and delight with Ada, the first Israeli woman to win the Nobel and the first woman to be recognized by a Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 40 years. You can get a glimpse of this from these headlines that decorated daily newspapers and magazines of all kinds in Israel. To honor Ada, we have with us today Hilla Elroy, the advisor to the Council General of Israel, who came with Asaf Shamis and Moriel Schottlander, experts in politics and internet technology. Flattered by all these prizes, Ada also admits that while rewarding, the real prize is the excitement seen by scientists, especially young researchers, as they make discoveries. Ada adds that young scientists need daily encouragement, especially when results are not immediate. Scientists, she says, need peace to work on their projects and a lot of patience and persistence. Just before the Nobel ceremonies, Ada said, I heard that there was a survey in high schools throughout Israel, and many now wanted to be chemists. This is the best thing that came out of this Nobel Prize. Ada's close friend and renowned crystallographer, Tzipi Shaked, describes Ada as a scientist and a mensch. The latter is an untranslatable Yiddish word that does not, unfortunately, describe many scientists in competitive research areas. Harold Chiraga, emeritus professor of chemistry at Cornell University and fellow mensch, has also known Ada for a long time. Recently, he told me, Ada used to stay with Miriam and me when visiting Cornell to use the Cornell synchrotron. But staying with us meant only that Ada's bag stayed in the guest bedroom. Ada, of course, spent her nights at the synchrotron. I hope I have given you a glimpse of how extraordinary Ada is as a person and a scientist. Before giving her the floor to talk about her discoveries, I'll end with a movie that the WOW Steering Committee and I have prepared on Ada's life. Thank you, Meredith, Namhi and Rosanna for putting this together, and also Coldplay for writing this beautiful song called The Scientist. I also want to thank Julie Kaplan for her extremely hard work organizing this event, Mike Ward, our chair, and Dan Stein, Dean for Science, for their support of this event.
Come think that almost all what I wanted to say has been said already. In this or another way, even my slides were used. So if I will still give my talk, but if somebody feels like leaving, it will be understood. So the title that I wanted to use today is The Amazing Ribosome, Its Enemies and Its Origin. I put it on top of flowers because what was most important, more than all what Tamar showed you with the press conference, was the amount of flowers I got in the first few days. I want to share it with you, and I want in this way also to thank you for inviting me. I couldn't come with real flowers because the United States immigration doesn't let. Once they almost arrested me for half a clementine, so this is what you can get. So DNA is the storage of the genetic information. It's actually just a string of instructions, and it can become, or it can be used for making proteins, which are the cell workers, after being transcribed to messenger RNA. The difference between DNA and messenger RNA is not very large chemically. RNA has a different backbone, and DNA has 4 nucleotides, and RNA has 1 that is a little bit different. But the difference in behavior is dramatic. DNA is a double helical molecule that has the information between the 2 helices, and it's hardly available for any type of chemistry. Whereas messenger RNA, all the RNAs can live relatively happily as single molecules, and therefore they can expose the information that is stored here to be translated into proteins. The translation from messenger RNA to proteins is done by the ribosome. I put all the transcription here in one little yellow box, as if it's not important, but please don't misunderstand, or please give it enough respect. Roger Konda got for this the Nobel Prize about 7 years ago. So I love this slide, or this picture, although it's childish, because I think for whoever doesn't know yet what ribosome is, it explains very nicely. It's a factory that needs some energy, actually not much, that can read the instructions that come as a string on messenger RNA. And people of my age around here can remember that there was time that we gave the computers instructions on paper tapes, more or less the same way. The instructions are being read inside and can come out afterwards to code for another protein. The beads here that are bought on carriers called tRNA are becoming the protein by being connected to each other, and the tRNA can